and downs because there's the warrior aspect of it, right? Which is what draws the team guys to be what we are, what we grow into. And then there's like the administrative covering to it, and there's a sort of a tension there, right? Because like to be really good at that work, you got to be, we'd say, like criminally inclined, right? You got to be thinking outside the box, right? And then at the same time, the military wants you to fit into rigid boxes, and the teams for a long time didn't have to fall into that. But as things evolved and things got more sophisticated on the administrative side, and they try to harness, right, the officer, the administrative elements attempt to harness us. It got to a point to be like someone put it as like lions led by dogs type of thing,
Yeah.
So there was tons of like awesome times and then ups and downs within there, but overall it was a positive experience. But ultimately the reason that I left is because I wasn't fully feeling that administrative culture. I didn't really care about, like, I went in to do the work. I didn't go in to achieve a specific rank or a status or a position. And so there was, when I decided to leave, it took me a while. That's why I did 7 years, because I did 2 extensions. I never re-enlisted, but I had my initial enlistment, and then I did 2 extensions, which is the max you could do. And during those extensions, I was, going back and forth of like, okay, do I want to stay or leave? Because initially going into it, I was like, oh, I'm just going to do this for my whole life. I had no intention of leaving. But we evolve and we grow, and we got to come to these points in life where it's like you have to make a decision, right, at some point.
Yeah.
So, I had reflected deeply, as I always do. I always reflect on like where I'm at, what's going on, check in. And so, it was a lengthy decision process. And I really say, like, up to the moment of like my final days of that enlistment, when I was still like, is this really what I'm going to do? Because also leaving it, you leave that community and that tribe that you stepped into that doesn't exist anywhere else, and that's why you came here. So there's a feeling of like stepping into the great unknown again, leaving something that's become very familiar and has a comfort level to it. But that's kind of how I've always been, right? It's like when it's time to move, I have that like, I would just call it like a hunter's instinct. It's like it feels like time to go this direction, so I'm going to shift path and go this direction. Yeah.
Definitely. As you got out, how was your transition into civilian life, as they say, and whatnot? How did that go for you?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't rough, but it wasn't smooth, like
Yeah.
it was, I didn't really know, like you go through a process and they kind of outboard you and they tell you some stuff. I wasn't super paying great detail on how I could basically leverage the system, because to me it kind of, even though it wasn't this way, it just felt like I would be exploiting the system to use the benefits that I had earned in a sort of way. Plus I didn't have any specific direction. Like I didn't have something else that I wanted to do specifically. But with that came a lot of like exploration, as far as, okay, I can go out and hang out over here, work over here, talk to these groups of people, try to find my new place, which again, I didn't really fully ever find it in the traditional kind of, the modern kind of job environment, right? Took many jobs, sold cars, sold tactical gear, did contract work overseas, taught people, did pistol rifle training, for military and mostly military, in various capacities, different units as a civilian. But all of that was like things that I have skills and proficiencies in that I can do, but not my calling, you know? And
Yeah.
so I was always being like moving through a river or something, and you're going to eventually find your place to settle. But I didn't, it took many years for that to happen. And through that, there was some, you know, pivotal points in life, like, that happened.
Yeah. You know, how do you think, I mean, not to say that I did or nothing, because I don't know for sure, but how do you think your combat experience, do you think that like had an effect on you? Not saying like in a crazy way, but did it ever like just like affect you in ways that you could notice, like being out in the world, or were you kind of like, you know, put it away and kind of moved on in your time when things happened in combat, or was things still kind of affecting you?
I mean, so the combats for me personally never had like a direct carryover to where I was like on edge in the sense of like I was always aware of, I was always tapped into my environment. I was always like aware of my surroundings, even as a little kid, just because of how I grew up as well. So I had like I guess you could say like a high situational awareness when I still do to this day. And it if anything, what it did is it stretched the limits of the highs and the lows, like the fears, the pain, what people typically associate with discomfort or you know, problems, issues. So a lot of stuff to me didn't seem like big deals, and so I couldn't fully like empathize or sympathize with, you know, like you go to college and people are, oh, I'm having the worst day. I'm like, not really. You're really not, maybe, but you know. So there was like that level of disconnection there, and that's again on the highs and the lows, you know. So some people would be like, get really excited about certain stuff, and you know, if you're maintaining a level of calm and coolness just as a way of, like a natural way of being, things don't heighten you to the same degree. So there's kind of like the trope of like a veteran who can't handle fireworks or something. It's like, no, I mean, you could set everything on fire around me and I'm gonna be chill and figure my way through it, you know. So that way of being doesn't fully resonate with the majority of people, right? So that part of things was interesting. Again, just feeling like I didn't fully fit in to a lot of places.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. You know, also, you know, as we're gonna move on to our next topic after this, what do you think overall, after everything that you've learned from the teams and the situations you've been through in the teams, what do you think your greatest strength was that you took from, that you use still to this day in your life?
My faith in God. Yeah.
Heck yeah. I can only imagine too in those moments, like when you're in a hairy situation, it's like, yeah, you're either gonna make it or you're not. Like you said, you know, here I go, God.
Yeah, no, that's literally how every time I'd go out, it's like, God, you know,